champion, welcome, Danny Batten.
Number one. You win.
Oh yeah, number one still. Hey guys, I'm Sai, and welcome to Ace Podcast Nation, the home of the Danny Batten Fight Show. This is episode number 41. We are talking last night's UFC as well as the latest MMA news. Shows available in video format at youtube.com/Ace Podcast Nation and audio format in basically all the radio and podcasting apps and platforms you can find. Ace Podcast Nation, of course, does shows and series on many different subjects featuring top guests, expert analysts, and more. So give us a follow on social media and subscribe to the YouTube channel, most importantly. And you could also follow the Danny Batten Fight Show on Instagram and Twitter at Danny Batten FS for a more streamlined experience with just MMA talk there. But joining me to talk the fighting world, first of all, is the former Cage Warriors champion, UK MMA legend, Mr. Danny Batten. Welcome, mate. You all right?
Yes, I'm doing good as always.
Always. The black eye's gone. The beard's back. It's back to normal. Back to normal. As normal as you could be. And,
Danny normal.
No,
I've never heard them two go together ever.
Ever. And I'm also thrilled to welcome back to Ace Podcast Nation, and also I think his first appearance on the Danny Batten Show is Cage Warriors lightweight, Mr. Tom Mearns. Welcome back, mate. You right?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right, buddy. You haven't been on the Danny Batten Show, have you? You've been on. I know you did. You did the unscripted, uncensored, didn't you? But you haven't been on this show. That's been a long time.
I get a Danny Batten show every week.
Yeah, you probably get sick of him. Sick of him.
I was trying to avoid him, Si, but
Yeah, well, that's it. I wondered why you can't.
It's hard, not when there's two of us, you know.
I wondered. He kept saying to me, "I don't want Tom on. I don't want Tom on. Don't put
It's
Tom
because
on."
I'm so handsome. Look at me. You don't want me ruining this podcast.
Tom, was that a yogurt you was eating before you come on, or you've been playing with yourself?
I've been playing with myself.
Oh, and it's gone already. It's gone off the rails. We go.
I thought we'd muck about at the beginning so we can edit it easy.
It's easily done. Keep it all together. But a bit of news to talk about before we get into last night's UFC card. So Michael Chandler signed with the UFC this week, and straight away is the reserve or the stand-in replacement for the Khabib Gaethje fight, which is for the lightweight title, which is fascinating. We just had a quick chat on it off air. I'm not a massive on Michael Chandler. Like, I think, he's had a fantastic career. He's had some high points, some low points. I just find it fascinating that he's going to go from like being in Bellator a couple of weeks ago to potentially being the UFC lightweight champion. But I know, Danny, you spoke highly of him when he became available and people were talking up his UFC chances. And I believe you said you'd like to see him face Conor McGregor.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good teardown because Chandler's not afraid to strike with a potential better striker. And I just think he would really take it to him. And I think it would be absolutely explosive. And he's got a little bit of a get out. As long as you don't get caught and knocked out with the single punch, he can rely on his wrestling to dirt it up a little bit and to mix it up. So I think it would be a really good test for Conor McGregor. But he'll allow Conor McGregor to express some of his game as well.
Yeah. Do you think he's, he deserves to have his chance in the UFC? Because obviously he was there before, wasn't he? But I think it's a different game now.
Personally, being a fan of his and stuff, I wished it was 3 years ago that he had come in because, without a doubt, he's hitting his twilight years. Not to say that his performances have been showing such, but, we've talked about age a lot. He's been in a lot of wars, but he has kept himself together really, really well. He has still got fight in him, but is he past his peak? Quite possibly the actual
I think
peak. Maybe he's just reaching past it now. But let's not take nothing away from him. On his night, he could spark anyone out.
yeah, and it's not just his age necessarily. I think also when you look at the people coming up into the UFC at the top of Cage Warriors, there's and elsewhere around the world, there's some younger fighters coming up are just all round so strong that you've even when you've got to be at the top of your game to make it and to keep and to stay there. And I'm not entirely sure that when he comes up against some of these younger, faster, hungrier fighters, whether he's still got it. But I don't know. Tom, what's your opinion of Michael Chandler and his signing of with the UFC?
Yeah, I think it's really good. What you guys were saying about him and McGregor, that would be a very interesting fight. Reason being because I feel like McGregor gets the knockout shots because he performs with his heart rate at a certain he keeps it low, so then he can ground his feet properly and land that left hand, for example. Whereas someone like Chandler, it's hard to kind of like play the strategy on the canvas to get him going where you want him, to back him up to the fence or something. He's going to, you know what I'm saying? They're going to both impose their wills. That would be a really good fight.
Yeah, they're going to duke it out in the middle.
Yeah, so it's hard to strategize with Chandler. One of the things, his biggest attribute is his physicality, I find, not his strategy as such. So he does have to go now, and I think the UFC have got him just right, if you see what I'm saying. So,
it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
So, I tell you what, we mentioned Conor McGregor there. I'm just going to briefly touch. Dana White said, I think it was yesterday, maybe on Friday, that he's got something fun planned for Conor McGregor, which he's put to Conor McGregor and his team, and they're interested. So he hasn't named any names or anything like that, but basically sounds like he's going to be back sooner rather than later, which is interesting because only last week, Danny, we were talking about the fact that he'd been arrested after an incident while he was out, but it sounds like they're not too worried about that. So
yeah,
if they're making
nothing
plans,
in it. I guess there was nothing in it.
Chandler and Connor's the fight to make. Sorry to interrupt. I think they got to make that fight.
Yeah.
Chandler and Conor.
Gio?
That is the fight.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I want to see Poirier and Conor with the winner getting the winner then of Khabib and Gaethje. I just would like to see Poirier. I'd be interested to see with Chandler and Conor, because one of the things which Conor McGregor does better than most, if not anyone, is he makes these weird angles for his left hand, and a lot of fighters struggle with it because they're not your kind of stereotypical angles that fighters come from, and they're used to sparring with and training with each day, and he creates these angles to get that shot away. And I'm not. And you mentioned Chandler's strategy, Tom, and I'm not entirely convinced that he'd be able to cope with those angles, and that and then that comes back to as well, if Conor McGregor is where he was, for instance, against Cerrone, then I think that's where he could be a problem for Michael Chandler. If he's like he was against Khabib, then I think Michael Chandler would have a tremendous chance of beating him. There's like
Chandler
two different.
Would need to make it like when he fought Alvarez.
Oh yeah.
When we just come out the gate. You can't wait on Conor, because what I meant about the heart rate thing, if you give him time, he will pick the shot and he'll take it. So you have to a bit like a Covington slightly, but a bit more dog. Well, you have to hoax him into a dog fight and force him to fight in a zone he doesn't like to fight in. Well, he always fights where he wants to fight because he's so goddamn intelligent compared to the people he's fighting. So he makes the fight he wants. So you never see him that stressed, and that is because he's so smart. But then when he fought someone like Diaz was the guy, and then you got Khabib. These guys made him fight in that zone where he had to, it's like more slightly like higher pace. He can land some shots. Yeah,
it was like they made him go toe to toe rather than just picking a shot and waiting for the right time. And I think
you can't pick him off. You can't pick him off. You have to go for it with someone like Conor. I would say you have to make him fight a dog fight.
Yeah. He gets those angles because he creates space through that teep. He pushes down the middle with teeps, side kicks, and he creates that distance and he pushes them back, and they're either going to footwork to their left or to their right, and he just plants that crosshand according to where they sidestep. It's like he knows they're going to come off centre, and he plants them down. But you've got to push someone back to get those nice angles from that crosshand. Chandler will not back off.
Yeah.
So he ain't going to have the setup angle. He won't get the setup angles. Yeah.
Even with Kavanagh yesterday with Johnny Walker, when Johnny Walker was going steaming in, you could hear Kavanagh telling him to take a breath and pick his shots. So I think that's clearly something which they do. Is it SPG? The team, though, generally, is that they work on strategy of fights and they work on finding that big shot at the right time. And obviously Conor McGregor's made a career from it. There's a few, like, whilst everyone is kind of scrambling, or a lot of people are scrambling for that Khabib rematch, like, whilst, it'd be a good event, and I think I would like to see how McGregor does as that fully focused Conor McGregor versus Khabib, and he was at the top of his game, because I do feel that he worried so much about Khabib's wrestling that he didn't implement his normal strategies and game plans that he would have, whereas I'd also be quite happy to see him fight a Poirier, a Gaethje, a Chandler. There's a lot of fights out there, a Masvidal, maybe, just like super fights, the Diaz trilogy fight, for instance. Like, there's a lot of super fights out there for McGregor that I'm more interested in than the Khabib fight, but I wouldn't be disappointed either if they put him against Khabib again at some point.
How bad do you think McGregor would want these fights now?
I think
he's only interested in super fights. I think that's the only reason he took the Cerrone fight.
So
because Cerrone's reached that level, haven't you?
You wouldn't stick around for people to try and make a name off of what you've achieved.
Yeah, why should he fight anyone who's not already established?
Yeah, I don't think he wants to go on that build run to get a title. I don't think he wants to have to prove himself in stages. I think he either wants to fight for a title or a super fight match, or for the world's toughest man belt, or
like if they offered him the Khabib fight, like the start of next year, he would take it. If they said you've got to beat Poirier and then Chandler and then you can have a title shot, he'd be like, no thanks.
Yeah.
Which is.
I wonder how his training would be like at this stage of his life too.
Well, Kavanagh said that in the build to Cerrone fight, he was like as if he was like 17, 18 again. But I from a personal point of view, when you've got that much money, I think it has to be the right fight, because otherwise your motivation's just not going to be there. It's natural. Like, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit with Tyrone Woodley later, but like when you haven't got to do it to pay your bills or make a living, or even if you've got all that stuff, but you're not set for life. Like, when you're set for life in the way that Conor McGregor is, whereby he's earning money every day from whiskey and ads and sponsorships, he doesn't need to fight at the moment. Like, it must be very difficult then to get up at 5 a.m. and go for a run and then train, all day and do a fight camp. Like, I think it's got to be the right fight for him. Otherwise, I don't think that the motivation would be there. But I thought he looked motivated against Cerrone. And when you look how Cerrone did against Nico Price last night, I think that shows how good Conor McGregor can still be.
That's what I was thinking about. Cerrone was so incredible. I want to know where his motivation comes from. What an internal motivation.
Yeah, because he's
hanging around for so long.
He's hugely successful financially.
Well, like, Cerrone was so strange. Like, he'll probably go on like a 3 or 4 fight win streak now, and then he'll lose a couple. And then he kind of seems to fall in love with it all over again and do it all over again. It's a strange one. On the subject of legends like Cerrone, the UFC released John Dodson, who I think is a legend. I think. Would you agree with that, Danny? A legend?
Dobson's been fantastic. I've really enjoyed watching him fight over the years. And it is kind of sad to see him go. But
you're surprised they let him go?
Yeah, I thought he could still be relevant in there, but by the same token, I'm not surprised either.
He didn't long ago beat Nathaniel Wood, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Last fight, wasn't it?
Yeah, the fight before, but
He recently signed in June. He signed a new 5-fight deal, and he hasn't retired. He still wants to fight, but for some reason the UFC. I got to be honest. Like, I was looking at some of the divisions in the UFC. The bantamweight, the middleweight, and I think he is a bantamweight, isn't he? The bantamweight, the middleweight, the featherweight, and the lightweight titles specifically are incredible. They're so loaded, like down to like the fighters ranked like 30th and stuff. That at some point the UFC as a business have got to cut some fighters, and I guess if you look at it from that business point of view, people like John Dodson, who are maybe they're not the biggest names in the world, but they're getting on a bit. I guess they're going to be the guys they let go, because you're not going to get rid of young fighters who are coming up and building a reputation for themselves, and you're not going to cut the big names. So that kind of only leaves those kind of in between guys. I'm not sure, but I do feel for him, and I know like there's a certain couple of Welsh bantamweights who would have liked to have fought him, but is what it is, I suppose. But a fantastic career. I'd fully expect to see him in Bellator before long. Would you agree with that, Danny?
Or one FC. That's quite
They've
a common.
been collecting some good fighters, actually, haven't they?
My goodness, have you seen some of the lightweight division fights?
Crazy,
the tenacity. They just go hell for leather in there.
I think we'd cover those events more if we didn't. If there, there's UFC every week, and then when you couple in Cage Warriors and Bellator, there's just not enough hours in the day to watch it all. But yeah, they do have some incredible stuff. I see it now and again. Okay, so just before we move on, Thomas, you have a fight on Saturday, so we appreciate you joining us the week before your fight. So when this goes out, it's literally days before you fight on Saturday. Are you all set for that, mate?
All set. Yeah, everything's good. Feeling good. I went for a little light session today with my brother and just working on some flow. Went in the park, really, just doing that numbering system, Danny.
No, right,
yeah.
Good.
So like I didn't need to do anything today, but I just met up with Richard, and then just kept the gears moving on the just kept flowing, really. I'm gonna have a real hard day tomorrow because I feel like I can, and then I spend Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday recovering. So, but yeah, I feel really good. Really all good set. Session yesterday. Yeah, all set. Seriously, so I can keep training up until the fight.
Do you know much about your opponent? Kieran Lister is your opponent, isn't he?
Yeah, I've studied him. My last couple of fights didn't really look into him too much, so I've been watching Kieran Lister, and it's a good fight. He's similar to me in a fair few ways. He was early in his career, he was more of an orthodox fighter, so he could be orthodox naturally, and then I see he fights more from the southpaw.
Okay.
Boxing looks good, tidy, has a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he likes the left kick quite a lot. Clinical fighter, but it's nothing I haven't come across. I fought much scarier guys than Kieran Lister, and that's a fact.
It's good to hear, mate. And I'm sure a certain Mr. Batten will have some strategies for you to take into the fight. His most famous one being the oil check, and
in my head I know how I'm going to do this fight. I know how I'm going to get this win.
Yeah.
But I just I don't like vice versa. Him having the black belt, I couldn't really care. I respect that. But it's not. You know what I mean? I can beat him in the grappling. I can beat him in the striking. Beat him in the wrestling. Like the whole MMA as a whole. That's where I'm going to beat him. And in the flow, on the flow of things. That's why I met up with my brother today just to keep drilling some striking technique. And then I met up with my brother yesterday. Started drilling some ground and pound drills. Some more striking strategy. I feel good for the fight, so
cool.
I feel like my hands are going to get the job done as well.
Yeah, me and you are going to have a detailed chat about the fight at some point this week. in preparation to promote the show. But the one thing I was going to just quickly ask you, what about like of your weight and stuff? Obviously, fighters cutting weight in that last bit of the week. Everything on course for that nicely?
Yeah, so I weighed myself today, and I'm water loading, so I weighed 76 kilograms. I mean, I can sweat out, like, to make featherweight, I'd sweat out about 4 kilos on the morning of the fight. Minimum, sometimes 5 kilos, you know, usually 4. So to weigh 76, water loading, it's going to be fine. So if any, so weight's all on point. I'm not very big for the weight class, but I feel like that's my advantage going forward because, like I said, I can get another good hard session in tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I like that though because I'm going to feel that kind of emulate that stress of a fight, and then it's not even that long. I can't get this camera on me probably. It's not even that long from my last hard session to when I will be fighting again. So it's going to be so normal to be in that high elevated state in the fight.
Yeah.
So if he's going to have a hard weight cut, he's really going to struggle with me on that. So yeah.
Good stuff. We just talked about Conor McGregor. Let's give it a Mystic Mac from The Fighter and the Coach. That could be a podcast name in itself, The Fighter and the Coach. So giving myself ideas as we're going along. Danny, what do you predict from Tom Mearns versus Kieran Lister?
Win by ground and grind.
Ground and grind. I'm saying win by knockout, quite frankly.
There we go.
I mean, honestly, I feel that. I don't really care.
I just,
I'm not attached to any outcome either.
Yeah. I mean, me and Thomas, we spoke about it, and we don't want to give anything too much away.
Yeah.
But if it goes to the ground, we've got strategies in place for that, and but it's all going to come from the grind. That's sort of like just a hint. Tom's one of the best grinders that we've ever come across. I've seen him outstrike better strikers, in the gym because he can orchestrate and put the whole elements together seamlessly. I've seen him, punch black belts into feeling like they're white belts because of the way he knows how to implement the MMA in the ground scenario. I've always seen Tom as someone that is like an orchestra, and you kind of have to get everything playing all at the right time or it can sound dreadful. And just recently, I feel like we've really got him back to band practice. Let's just say that. He's
it's a band
yeah, that's right. Yeah, got him back on track, and it's been exciting watching him. He's been sparring a lot with Jordan, and Jordan's utterly world class everywhere. And watching them spar's been a treat during this camp.
I was going to say that must have been a treat. Okay, so just very quickly before we go on to the UFC card from last night, what I want to do is we're going to give our predictions for the Cage Warriors card and for the UFC card next week. So instead of doing them at the end of the show, we're going to do them now. So you don't have to give too much detail because there's a lot of fights. Just give us one way or the other. If you want to add anything, you can. So we'll start with Cage Warriors on Thursday. Oban Elliott versus Mikhail Figlak at lightweight. Danny?
Oh, we got to go Oban. Yeah, absolutely.
So, Tom?
I guess Oban. I haven't really studied any of them guys. I've been
they've got that new meat. They're new meat, but they're
fresh meat.
Yeah.
They're
I'll say Oban.
Of the high school. Yeah. They're good. They're good.
Yeah.
He's got.
I've been so some of these fights, I've been so focused on just what's in front of me right now.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's
Yeah, that's okay. You just say one or the other if you're not sure. Adam Amarasinga versus Conor Hignett.
I'm going to go Amazinga. Amazinga, from what I saw from his last performance, extremely impressive. Performs like that, it'd be hard to bet against him.
Did Luke Shanks fight Conor Hignett?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Well, he fought Amazinga. But I don't know. Did he fight the other guy as well?
I thought he fought Conor Hignett as well.
Yeah, as well.
He's fought both of them, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And I believe if I need to double check that, but
didn't he? Yeah, didn't Luke win by guillotine with Conor? Is that the one he won with guillotine? Can't remember now.
Oh, maybe.
But I know Amazinger. Yeah, I know Amazinger. Luke had got a sickness bug literally 2 days before, throwing up everywhere, and even throwing up before he went out to fight, and then afterwards throwing up. But we couldn't pull him out. He's a tough G, isn't he?
I'm an absolute fan of Luke Shanks.
He's a warrior.
You got some of the biggest stars in the sport. Like we could talk Jorge, we could talk the Diaz. Like when you watch him, something pulls on your heartstrings. And when I watch Luke Shanks, like I'm fully his fan. Do you know what I mean? I'm so invested every time he fights. He just embodies what the human spirit can do when it pulls through like a hard fight. I've seen him in wars. Haven't we, Danny? We've seen him.
Oh man, absolutely. He still comes. He still comes. He still comes down trains and stuff. He's a good friend. Absolutely, yeah.
Title this weekend.
I believe so.
Well, we're going to get to that now. He beat both guys via decision, by the way.
Luke lost against
Amazinger by decision. And then
it says on there he beat him by decision.
No, he lost
in LFC 10.
That's wrong.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Yeah, I might be wrong.
He lost Amazinger, but he did beat.
Oh no, I beg your pardon. I read it wrong.
Yeah.
But he beat. They both went to decision. Aaron Khalid, guest on the show a couple of weeks ago, versus Mick Stanton at welterweight.
Yeah, Khalid, he's a monster.
The Welsh
Khalid's,
Khabib.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's Ben. Oh, I got him mixed up. They won't like
wow,
that.
They won't
Sorry,
like
lads.
That.
Jesus.
But I'm sure he won't mind that label.
No, Aaron won't mind it. Ben won't be happy though. Who have you got there, Tom?
Khalid, he's tough, man. I've seen him fight. He's a really durable fighter. So and I don't know too much about the other guy, but
Mick Stanton, he's an experienced guy, Dan, isn't he? Mick Stanton.
Yeah,
I've been around.
I maybe got focused on my own weight classes. To be fair. I'm going to say Khalid for that one.
We'll go back up. We'll go up to the co-main event for that night. Jake Hadley versus Shaj Hack. Danny?
Let's go Hadley. Gonna go Hadley.
That's a flyweight one, that is.
That's a hard one to call because Hadley's so much younger. And what's the name of the other guy?
Shaj Hack.
Yeah, so he's going to be have so much more mature wisdom about him as a fighter, maybe. So that's what's so interesting about this fight. You've got the young. I imagine Jake Hadley would be so young and hungry.
He's highly rated, isn't he, Hadley?
Yeah.
I just think he's going to be.
I will go with Hadley.
Yeah, I think Hadley's just going to be too lively for him, too sharp.
Yeah.
And I think I know your answer to this one, but we'll say anyway. The main event of the Thursday evening is the flyweight title fight, and it's Samir Fadin, the champion, versus Luke the Apocalypse Shanks. Yeah,
it's just a Shanks all the way.
Come on, Luke.
Yes. I'm invested in that fight.
Yeah, and I'm impressed with the camp that he's training with and the coach that he's got now. He really dotes on Luke. He's gone to a really good home up there, and it's just done nothing but help him, and they've honed him to the next step level. I mean, of course, I'm not taking anything away from ourselves and our own team. I'm sure we could have done it as well. We would have just done it a different way and different direction. But different circumstances led to him having to move up there, and but it hasn't done him any bad whatsoever. No. And I think he's ready to hit the big time.
Yeah, I agree. Samir Fadin is no mug, mind. So Luke will have to be at the top of his game, but I do think he'll do it.
How did Sam Creasy do with him? I know the results.
I think he was winning all the way through, wasn't he? And then it all went pear-shaped or something.
I think it went pear-shaped towards the end, didn't it? If I remember correctly.
And I think that was the fight that Raymond was trying to give him some advice about how he holds his guard, striking guard. We were saying, hey, look, you've got to be tighter with your form. You've got to come unstuck. And oh, God blow me, he did. He come unstuck with that. But Sam is a talent, though. He's an absolute talent. He's the one that should have always been, but just hasn't for whatever reason.
Then we got the Friday. Ben Ellis, otherwise known as the Welsh Khabib, versus Kingsley Crawford at featherweight.
Ben Ellis. Ben Ellis. Yeah, Ben Ellis.
I'm going to go Ben Ellis. I'm gonna go.
He's an intelligent young man, that one, and obsessed with the sport, and I like that.
Yeah, I was
see that knockout he got with the ground and pound.
Yeah,
from such short distance, and then that even inspired me because I'm like, I can do that. I watched that knockout, so I'm getting back in touch with. Well, I'm getting so much more back in touch with the sport now. I'm realizing I know what I can do. So when I get inspiration from other people. So now I don't know anything about Ben Ellis. I've only seen a clip of his ground and pound, and then it made me think back to how sometimes you don't realize how from the short range how much damage you can do. Like the way he scored his ground and pound. That's something I will start bringing into my game. The way
you've won fights in such fashion. If you think back, short range.
Exactly, I'm going to bring that back in, but I'm going to work on it and develop it. You know, maybe I'll do it this weekend. You know what I'm saying? Because every opportunity I have to inflict damage in the ground, because I'm not too obsessed with positions in my head. Like if I'm going to do damage as soon as we're in any grappling exchanges, I'm going to start scoring and racking up damage. And I'm going to study Ben Ellis because I think I'll get some inspiration and I'm going to improve my game going forward.
I was really impressed with Ben. He was on the show last week. His technical analysis of the fights and stuff was really impressive for like a young guy. Just because a lot of fighters who I speak to, they don't watch a lot of fights outside their division or outside their own kind of little bubble. But he literally watches everything. Like he watches Bellator, he watches Cage Warriors, and just anything he can watch, he gets it, and he analyzes every little detail. And it was impressive, wasn't it, Dan? It was really you could tell straight away, like he's just got this focus and this obsession on improving and the technical side of it. It's interesting.
Yeah, I think switched on sums him up. He's just a real switched on lad.
100%. So I'm going to fly through these last couple on Thursday. I'm not going to go through every fight, like I said. We got James Webb versus Craig White at middleweight in the Cage Warriors Thursday. Friday.
Let's go for Mr. Webb. These are now some fighters I'm familiar with those two. I'm not so sure about, but yeah.
Tom, you familiar with either of those? James Webb and Craig White?
I know Craig White. He had a little run in the UFC too, didn't he? Fought Diego Sanchez.
Oh, right, okay.
But he didn't do too well, though, did he?
I feel like
if I remember right,
like you in his life, Danny, like a good strategist coach. Because maybe when I've seen him, he ain't short of heart, Craig White. That's for sure. He is a fighter. It is. Imagine if he took his attributes he has now.
Is he Scottish, Tom?
Oh, he's from down south, I believe. Craig
White.
Right,
okay. Yeah, I was wondering if I might get him confused with someone else.
Yeah, so I'm going to say Webb. Going forward, I would like to see more strategy from someone like Craig White. But he really is a fighter. So, like, my hat's off to someone like Craig White. I'm going to say Webb.
Right.
Yeah.
Then we got two title fights then. Matthias Frederick, who's the champion, versus Jamie Richardson, a middleweight. Danny, who you got, Craig?
Yeah, he's going to stay champion, man.
Matthias Frederick.
Yeah, he's going to stay champion.
I don't know who that. I know who Richardson is. So
is Matthias Frederick, Dan? Is he the one that everyone was raving about previously as like he's going to be an absolute superstar?
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about him, and he hasn't been disappointing with his performances at all.
No, I was going to say, if it's the one I'm thinking of, he's very, very impressive.
Yeah.
But and then we've got the main event is the bantamweight title fight, which is Jack Cartwright, the champion, versus Gerardo Fanny.
Yeah, I don't know much about this. Well, I know lots about Fanny, but not that Fanny. I don't honestly know much about him. I don't know whether, and I would have taken the time out to have a proper research, but I've had a lot on my plate.
I just wanted to have a little fly through him and just see.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to say Cartwright to keep it.
Yeah. I'm saying Cartwright stays the champion as well.
Yeah.
And then we got the Saturday, which is a ridiculous card. So on the prelims, we've got Steve Amiable versus Jordan Vucinic of BST at featherweight. Who's winning that? Yeah. Do I need to ask?
Yeah, I'm going to say Jordan absolutely everywhere. he will outstrike this guy. If he tries to wrestle with him, he'll get counter wrestled. And if they want to mix it on the ground, well, not many people other than myself can deal with Jordan on the ground.
That's where you got your black eye from, wasn't it?
That was from one of my amateurs.
Bring more creativity to the fight, you know. He bring much more flair and finesse. That's what I'm saying.
He's got tricks.
Danny, yeah,
he's got a lot of tricks. It's just when you're standing with him, you're just not quite sure what's going to come. It's weird. He throws things out. You just don't see them coming. He's just got such an acute way of striking. And, you know, he does a lot of work with JB Graham, our striking coach, and he's done wonders for his game. But Jordan does go training other places as well. You know, he's really open to suggestions from other coaches. And I can't remember the name of the guys, the name off the top of my head that he gets pad work from. But oh my goodness, yeah, he'll curse me for not remembering. Do you know the name of the guy that he goes and does the pads with as well? Oh my God, how embarrassing! But I might remember, and I'll mention it again a little later down the line. But this guy's incredible at holding pads and really allows Jordan to express his fluidity on the pads, and that's been working wonders as well. You started to see that transfer over into his sparring in the gym. It's just exciting. It's exciting. And Abel's a great fighter. We're full of experience.
Yeah, full of experience.
So it's going to be a great test. So, you know, the thing that's going to get Jordan up and going is the fact that he's fighting against someone that could have an impact in any one of those areas. So he's going to be switched on in every single one of those areas. And when Jordan's switched on, you got to have your game on to not be stopped.
Yeah,
I really have.
I titled the video for the interview which I did with him, "The Epidemic is Ready to Take Over," and it was very well received. Did lots of views, and he talks well as well, doesn't he, Jordan? He's very confident in his own ability, and
we hear it every time he comes in the gym. Oh my God, he walks in with a swagger, and he chats shit to everyone that he walks past in the gym.
And then we've got Sam Creasy versus Nikolai LeBlond at flyweight. Who you got there, mate? Danny?
Creasy's going to pick him apart.
Yeah.
Paul Hughes versus Aiden Stephen at bantamweight.
That's a good fight.
And I don't know either of these guys.
Paul Hughes' side. There's definitely a bit of hype.
I was going to say Paul
him.
Hughes is.
I'm not sure.
Aiden, what's their other last name? But I am familiar.
Aiden Stephen.
Aiden Stephen. Ooh, he's very good. You know, I've seen him fight in the past. That's a hard one. It really is.
I got to go with Hughes there. Kieran Lister
right now, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Okay. Yeah, Kieran Lister. What about this guy?
Is he going to win his fight?
Of course not. Of course not. He'll get beaten on the floor. So when we talk about the grind, it's like bring that grind, but I'm talking about flow as well. You know, so absolutely, he will be beaten Saturday night. Absolutely.
And then we've got a featherweight title match between Morgan Charrier and Max Koga. Danny, do you familiar with either of those guys?
Yeah, let's go with Charrier.
Tom?
I'm going to say Max Koga.
Then one of the fights of the week for me, Mason the Dragon Jones fighting Adam Proctor for the vacant welterweight title. Obviously, Mason is the current lightweight title holder. Who you got there, Dan?
Mason, to me, is just so solid. I can't see him losing it. I know it's a step up in weight, isn't it? But
he can't find holes in his game.
No. He just presses. He just presses forward, and he's impressive. Another intelligent lad, you know. We've had him on, and he comes across very, very well. I think he's going to have some good game plan for this guy, and I just think it's just going to be too much for him all round. I think he'll just pressure him. I think he'll just make him
be too much winning.
Yeah, I just think he's going to push the guy into doing unforced errors or into forced errors.
What about you, Tom?
I haven't seen enough of Adam Proctor, but I believe he's grapple most probably when he fights?
I think so. Yeah, I think he's quite grapple
I
based.
was thinking if there's a fair bit of a size difference, I was actually going to say a decision win to Proctor.
Yeah, but
by controlling the chaos in the fight, getting ahead in the grappling and staying ahead in the grappling.
Mason's not easy to take down though.
No. Oh, he's got a
not easy to take down.
Well.
And, yeah, and he's got good hands along with that good sense of stability to stay on the feet. I just think it's going to be hard for Proctor to get it there, and I think he has to get it there. He has to get it to the ground, and I just don't know whether he's going to be able to get through all the fleck of attacks coming at him constantly, because it will be constant.
So Proctor's 5'10", and about
Jones is taller.
170, and pretty sure Jones is 5'10".
Is he? I thought he was taller than that.
5'10".
I haven't studied them enough to give you an actual educated answer on some of these fighters, but I'm going to make a guess that Proctor will win by a decision, by getting ahead on the grappling.
Interesting.
That's all I'm saying. But like
Mason Jones never been defeated.
Decision on these guys. Yeah, undefeated.
I mean, going up a weight,
they do lose.
That can happen. Yeah, when you go up a weight, it can happen.
Adam Proctor's only lost once.
Yeah,
it's going to be a hell of a main event. What a way to finish the week.
Adam Proctor has more experience on his side there.
Yes, yeah, he does. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating.
Undefeated records, they don't. I'm just like, okay, they don't mean they're a great indicator, but there's in the losses as well. There's mad experience to be gained there, and you're taking that into your fights with you. It's the other side of the coin that does strengthen you if you take the right approach after. These undefeated fighters have a disadvantage there in a big way.
Yeah,
in a big way.
100%. Here's a trivia question for you, Tom, which I asked Danny a couple of weeks ago. If Mason wins on Saturday, he'll become only the third person to be a 2-weight champion in Cage Warriors. Can you name the other two?
Tom Mearns.
No, the ones that have done it before. The other two, that would be Conor McGregor, and is it the guy who has the axe? What's his name? You know what I'm about? The guy
I don't know.
Paddy Pimblett, because he won in 2 weight classes, didn't he?
I don't know.
But he's got to be a champion in 2 weight classes.
Yeah, he beat Paddy Pimblett for the belt, and then he went down to featherweight and beat Morgan Sherrier. Or was that a lightweight?
I'm not sure. According to the stats and Cage Warriors website,
Soren
the only two people.
That's what I was going to say.
Who?
Soren Back.
Okay. According to Cage Warriors statistics,
I have to have a look at that.
The only people who are doing it who've ever done it is Conor McGregor and Dan Hardy. But I'll have to have a look at that. Maybe they've got it wrong.
I believe Soren Back did win, or one was an interim title, maybe actually.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, that complicates things if you're going to do.
Yeah.
Yes, but be interesting. I can't wait for next week. Okay, I say we'll move on to the card from last night, and then we'll finish the show with the UFC predictions because we're 40 minutes in already. Been gassing. So let's go. So we're going to talk the main card of last night's UFC. A fantastic card of fights it was. Very, very quickly, Danny, what was your overall thoughts of the evening?
Oh man, there was some great fights, some very, very fast finishes, and of both types of variety, knockout and submission. And my God, yeah, some great full distance matches as well. Yeah, brilliant fight show, brilliant, good matchups.
Overall thoughts, Tom?
Yeah, it was a really good fight. I mean, I caught it this morning, but yeah, no, very good.
Impressive stuff. So, first fight of the night on the main card was Kevin Holland versus Darren Stewart. Tom, you go first, mate. Went to a decision with Holland picking up the victory via split decision. How did you see this fight overall?
Yeah, it was a close fight. It was Darren had more. It looks like almost looks like a Dutch Thai boxing style sometimes.
Yeah, planted stance.
Yeah, and I like that. I like the way he presses forward. And then Kevin Holland is kung fu. So he's very creative. What I would have liked to see from Darren Stewart was, because he's got the frame to do it so well, is to really emulate like a Tyson style of boxing with real intent to really get in, slip his head on the inside. You know, like I feel like he could press forward, and then, well, I'd like to see him box more like a Mike Tyson style. It'd be so effective, so effective. But yeah, it was a good fight, close fight, and it went to Kevin Holland. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I think I think Darren can come on so far though. I see.
Yeah, there was lots of positives there for Darren Stewart. I really thought that. I really believed that. I don't think like he looked outclassed in any way. I don't think, you know, it was like, oh, maybe he's not up to this standard of, you know, the UFC standard. I thought he did. There was enough positives there for Darren Stewart. Did you see the fight as the judges did, Tom, with kind of Stewart taking it? Holland taking the fight, or did you think Stewart?
What decision was it again?
So Kevin Holland won by a split decision, 29-28, 28-29.
That's fair. Yeah, split decision is fair.
So I actually had Stewart winning round 1 and round 3, and Holland winning the second round. Danny, what did you have it as, and then how did you see the fight?
Yeah, I had Holland winning the first 2, and Stewart clearly winning the third round. Holland was slightly outpointing him at range, and he was being quite funky, being more diverse than Stewart. But for me, Stewart had the advantage in the wrestling exchanges. And he's got to think that he's given away some height. He was giving away some range in terms of their style striking. What could have won it for Stewart was just to strategize a little bit more clever by using that superior. You know, he didn't have much risk of being taken down himself. He was the one trying to initiate the takedowns initially. But if Stewart just used his striking to press in, and when it got close to clinch up, drive Kevin Holland against the fence, then strike on the break, he's both striking on the way in and on the way out. And I think that would have made it much more close. In fact, I would think it would have put Stewart ahead on the strikes. I think they only went against him because on the strike count, he fell behind on Holland on the first 2 rounds.
I was going to ask you about that, because I felt in the first round, like, Holland hit more strikes. But I thought Stewart had the more significant strikes.
Yes, he had cleaner
strikes. He rocked him with some rights in exchange, and then he charged him, and they had a bit of a wild exchange. But before the wild exchange, where they both kind of were going, I thought Stewart rocked him, and I felt like that kind of just edged the round for him then over. Like, for me, like, I thought like it was more significant than the pointing or the kind of the strikes at range that Holland had been doing. Yeah, but it's difficult, isn't it? It's like, I know the judges are probably looking at it differently to me.
I think had Stewart staggered him and been able to follow up on it to make it look really negative, but it was just a moment.
It was just a moment, brief second, wasn't it?
And I can't take the round off Holland just because of that. He did work harder. He was being really creative. That's how I saw it.
I see so much potential in Darren Stewart's boxing.
Oh yes,
I really do.
I absolutely agree. But you've got to be able to make that, that short range. If you're saying like to fight like Tyson does, he's got to make it count in 2 ways. If you're giving away height and reach, and like I say, that's to crash in with it. You're inevitably going to be clinching up, and then to strike off that clinch and try to keep yo-yoing in and out, rather than being out of long range all the time.
Yeah, like if you get a really good wrestling coach work with him, or if he really brought in the wrestling, like if he felt indomitable whenever he got clinched, and then he could just keep that boxing going. Because I just see the way he's built. It's like he could become an absolute brutal puncher, and then fall back into a solid wrestling. Like, because people are gonna be shooting on him for their dear life. I just see that potential in him.
But did you see his leg kicks? I know we've seen leg kicks off Stewart before, and it would have been nice to have perhaps seen some leg kicks going in with those hand combinations.
Do you think he underutilised them a bit, the leg kicks?
I do.
Gone for it more. I thought he could have, because I thought, like you were just going to say there about the strikes following up the leg kicks, I thought
that made all the difference in a split decision.
Yeah,
I thought that those leg kicks would have, the way that they were affecting his opponent, I felt like if he had followed them up with some striking combinations, that actually could have made a real big difference. those leg kicks were almost isolated. He would do a leg kick and he wouldn't really follow it up, but then he wouldn't do another leg kick for a while either. And I felt like that was a missed opportunity. But I do think, I sincerely believe that there was enough positives there from Darren Stewart for him to take a great deal of heart and something from that fight, even though he did lose via split decision and he'll be disappointed, etc. I felt there was more than enough there to look at that for a positive outlook.
Lots of positives for Darren to take going forward.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So for this next fight, we were treated to another female interesting fight, which we've been blessed with in 2020. Now, if I was writing a newspaper headline, Danny, for about this fight, I think I'd go with either two things. I'd either go with A Star Is Born, because I think Mackenzie Dern really put herself on the map as a top level fighter, or a top level grappler at least, and I feel like she's doing very, very well to make a name for herself. And if I was writing for like the Daily Sport or something obscene, not the classiest of rags, I probably would have put something like Randa Marcus screws herself, because she really not let herself down, but like her best chance of winning that fight was to get Mackenzie Dern into a striking battle and either do it from range or get in the pocket and hit her with some big shots to the body and try and hit her in on the button, and she went straight down.
Yes, she did. That was crazy.
That's like the most ridiculous decision. Honestly, now I don't like to criticize fighters, but I do like to give an honest opinion, whether it's good or bad. Yeah. And when I saw that, I was like, that is the most ridiculous decision that I've possibly seen this year. Because if I was her coach, and you'll be able to give a much better insight into it than me, I would have been fuming to have a fight camp and to have come up with different. And like, I would hope that her strategy wasn't to try and grapple with Mackenzie Dern and take it to the floor. I would hope that's not her strategy.
Didn't she?
Yeah,
absolutely.
So it's like,
and then the reason why Mackenzie was there was because of her uncoordination in the striking.
Yeah. She fell off balance completely.
Just threw
madness, mate.
And then, mate, she gave her a treat there, didn't she?
Yeah, he was like, come and have this victory.
Well, that grappling though did look really good.
She is impressive.
The
mate.
guard work was incredible guard work.
Yeah.
Go on, Dan, tell us about the grappling, mate. I know you were itching to.
She's just so fluent and looks so good there. I agree with you totally. Marcus going to the ground like that was just nuts. She could have just kicked at her legs a little bit just to get a little bit of score time. Maybe for 20-30 seconds, and then just called it up, or probably the ref would have called it up at that point. And you got to make it a messy strike fest, which we know she's capable of. We've seen it before, but she went straight down into Dern's world. But Dern just didn't disappoint there. But in this ground situation, you had Marcos with high posture in a potential triangle situation. So she was in what's called a triangle trap position, where you have the ankles linked, which is a precursor for the triangle coming on, and she had full posture. But in the MMA scenario, or even in the grappling scenario, really, when you've got high posture like that, you need to put the other arm or forearm into the groin, so that when they go to transition to, say, the omoplata or an armbar, you've got weight on the hips to kill the hips. You've got to push the hips to the mat, and it's hard to transition tight up onto the arm. You've got to have live hips to transition from triangle trap to an omoplata, triangle trap to an armbar. You've got to have high live hips. So why she never put that arm? I would have been screaming for her to put that other arm in, and she had all the space to do so. There's absolutely no excuses other than not having the knowledge to do so, and the cornerman not having the knowledge to tell her to do so.
He's got to be shouting that, hasn't he? And
you would think they would, but it didn't, and that's why she transitioned to the omoplata. And
Mackenzie Dern said, sorry to interrupt you, Dan, she said at the end, she was kind of grappling, and she said, and the omoplata was just there. I didn't want to, she said, I can't remember what she said. She was looking for something, and then she said the omoplata was just there, so I kind of transitioned to that. And then I liked the way she didn't just when the arm bar was there for the taking, she didn't rush. She kind of gradually went through it, and she went with like a different angle. I'm sure there's a name for it. And then she gradually got to it until her arm was bent the wrong way and all that sort of stuff. But I was very impressed with her patience as well as her skill.
Yeah. She was, picking her moments to transition, but she was given the opportunities to transition.
Yeah, it looked like a lack of knowledge, didn't it, on her opponent's part?
She was out of her depth against Dern, and she only has herself to blame for it.
Baffles. Doesn't that make it even more baffling, Dan? That she took it to the floor when she was so out of her depth.
Yeah, it makes me think that when she's training and doing all her sparring in her camp, is she just sparring to spar for spar's sake? So having these different types of stylists, females and males, I guess, because our girls spar with the guys as well, and just sparring according to what type they're and strategizing for whoever you're up against. But surely, if you know you're going to be competing against a certain type, especially someone like Dern, you'd be trying to emulate or getting your partners to emulate that and trying to fight to. So it makes me think that she in her camp, she's just sparring for the sake of sparring, and if someone falls off balance, she go to the ground to take a top position, and I think she just did it out of instinct. That's the only thing I could think of that there was reasoning why she went down, because I can't imagine her camp was saying to go down. I just don't know what in her head was. I think it was just a reaction because that's how she's been training.
Just a rush of blood, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was very surprised. I was disappointed because I was looking forward to this fight. Because I felt like if she was able to get past that first round, I did feel like I'd like to see if Mackenzie Dern had the stamina to get into a bit of a war. And I felt like Randa Marcos, if she'd made it a striking war of 3 rounds, I felt like she had a good chance.
Yeah, she did. I mean,
Marcos played into her hands.
Marcos isn't the prettiest MMAist in any particular area anyway, but she is a grinder. She's definitely a fighting through and through. Yeah, absolutely. And she'll keep coming. And if you don't figure her out, you're going to be in for a rough night. But I just want to point out as well, the other thing that impressed me about Dern's decisions was now whether she actually planned to do this and had it as part of her strategy, it was really clever. And that was when you go for an omoplata, for which I think there's only ever been one omoplata finish in UFC.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's
UFC as well.
Yeah. But when she set it up, one thing I say about the omoplata, it's a great way to get a top position, to create a scramble to get out. So I think it's good to hit the attempt of an omoplata because it removes your body weight, the top person's body weight from you. And then if you strive for the omoplata, you can either roly-poly to get out, which is going to get you in top position, or they stack up. Now, Marcos stacked up, and Dern took her backwards, which is the other direction you can go. And she actually took her backwards to get up on top, which was another really solid decision. It is impressive. I'm happy. With the way they fought, it absolutely went the right way.
Yeah. Anything to add, Tom, on Mackenzie Dern's performance?
It was really good. Nothing more to add than that. I did really like the guard work. It was really good to watch. But you both summed up there completely. So no, nothing to add to that.
Yeah, I apologize. I got a bit ranty then at the start of that. I was just so shocked by it. And I just
she did just give her the win though, didn't she? Like
it was just like handed it to her.
Everyone know. The only thing I know about Mackenzie Dern is I know she's world class jiu-jitsu, right? Is she a world champion in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, I think she is.
She's decorated.
When she ends up on her back for her incompetence in the striking area, you're gonna be like, come on, come back up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nuts.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
But pressure moments, these things happen.
Yeah, it could just be a rush of blood, or
it was the pressure of the situation for the other lady, I'm sure.
Yes.
For got her name, Randa
Marcos. Randa Marcos. Yeah.
Randa Marcos.
So next up we had ranked number 11 Johnny Walker versus ranked number 12 Ryan Spann. This was chaotic, with Johnny Walker picking up the win via TKO via strikes. Very interesting from many different angles. First of all, the first angle, Johnny Walker came into the UFC, absolutely decimated, I think 4 guys in very short succession. Then lost 2 on the bounce, and looked massively out of his depth in his last fight.
I'd say physicality and will got Johnny Walker this win. and
there and was new coach, I think, as well.
It was a barn burner. So the way he fought left too many opportunities for his opponent. Do you see what I'm saying? You know, it's like a war of attrition essentially, but he's given his opponent too many opportunities. Well, that's why he got dropped. Because he's so reckless. They're so intent on doing the damage that they should know that their strikes hit hard enough anyway. Just make them land. And don't forget the rest.
Middleweight as well. Yeah, you know.
You know what Danny tells me all the time. The form. It's the dance. It's the dance between getting your shot, landing, and they just go to hell for leather with the intent of, well, doing the most damage. And yes, that got him the win, but it didn't put him in harm's way as well. And I was wondering if them hammer fists were legal.
Right, so I was going to talk about this now.
That was so driven in his head to just do damage. It was like a survival type of thing going on. So you know, I didn't see no judicious shots being picked. It was just swinging. So
in the finishing bit, they had Walker is stood over Spann. He hits him with some hammer fists, and then he finishes him with a massive elbow, which was beautiful, by the way. The coach of Ryan Spann was straight in the cage, ran straight over to Dana White, was screaming at him about illegal shots. But Herb Dean put a video up about an hour after the fight, I think it was, explaining why not one of the shots was illegal and basically the difference of it and stuff. So as far as I'm concerned, that's good enough for me. Herb Dean's one of the best in the business. Now, I understand why Ryan Spann's coach was incredibly frustrated, because Ryan Spann probably should have won that fight from some of the positions he had earlier in the fight, but he didn't capitalise when he did, because he knocked Walker over, I think, twice or maybe even 3 times. Which I'll talk about in a minute. About Walker seems to go down every time he gets hit, which is a big problem if you're trying to walk people down all the time. But I just hope that Ryan Spann doesn't get dropped by the UFC because of the way his coach behaved afterwards and approached Dana White, because he didn't do it in the right way. He was quite loud, he was quite aggressive, it was picked up by the cameras. Like, all the things that you don't want to happen kind of happened. And then to make it worse, what he was saying was incorrect. That makes it, like, if those shots were illegal, then at least he'd kind of have that to kind of fall back on. But I don't know. It depends what mood Dana White's in, really. Hopefully he's in a good mood because of Chimaev. But I don't know. I hope Ryan Spann doesn't suffer for someone else's comments and behaviour, because it wasn't a good look. And like I say,
time, though, they've seen everything in the UFC. So
yeah, but
they would see it from a bit of empathy and understanding.
I'd like to think so, but I think it's amplified because there's no fans there. So the fact that everything is picked up, and you could hear him screaming at Dana like, "What the fuck is this? Blah blah blah, illegal shots." And then it makes it worse that they weren't illegal. Dan, what do you make of that? As a coach, can you understand his frustration? Can you see where he was coming from? Do you think he was out of order? Where are you on that?
You can't go approaching Dana White in that way. You just can't go doing that. You go through the correct means if you've got a dispute about something that you think you've seen. But you can't go shouting off to Dana White. You just don't do that. It's not going to do you no favours whatsoever. Even if he was right.
At Dana White? Did he confront Dana White?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
right. Look at the back. You can see it in the background.
Okay, that's not good.
No, that's not good.
They even in a position to be doing that. Yeah,
absolutely. Even if he was correct and they were illegal strikes, you go through the correct channels.
Yeah.
And you just don't do it that way. So I hope Spann, because Spann's a good guy, man, and he's a good fighter as well. Yeah. And it'll be such a shame if he gets consequences because of his coach's behaviour.
Yeah, he's like a God-fearing, good person as well. By all accounts,
he is absolutely a really good character and would not deserve to be cut because of other people's etiquette or lack of in the cage.
But they have empathy and understanding for the situation.
Yeah, let's hope so. I'm sure. Now, Dana White is very, very firm, but I also think for the most part he is fair. and I think he will not be consequential to Span. He'll know Span's a good guy, and he's got potential.
Dana White's seen all sorts, hasn't he? So
he has.
I think something like that would really get under his skin. But
Ryan Spann is not Conor McGregor in terms of Conor McGregor gets away with everything because he's Conor McGregor. Yeah. Like we've seen Dana White drop lower fighters for less. Yeah. So I hope, because Ryan Spann looked good the last few fights, and I think this was a good fight. It was chaotic. So Danny, I wanted to speak to you. We've talked about Johnny Walker loads, like over the last year in various formats. We were very excited by his initial entrance to the UFC. So I mentioned, like, I think he's got a problem in that. I'm not saying he hasn't got a chin, because he has. I don't think he was. I think he's only been knocked out once, but you saw in this fight, every time he does get hit clean, he does seem to lose his balance, or he gets a little bit disorientated briefly, which, that happens to many fighters. There's certain fighters who've just got like a button, which if you catch them there, they go. And he does seem to be able to recover quickly, but the problem I've got with it is, if that's the case, the way he fights is very aggressive. He tries to walk down the fighters. Now, to me, that's a problem. If every time you get hit, you've got to avoid getting hit if you go down quite easily. From an aggressive point of view and his offense, I think he's a very strong fighter. I think you could see a massive improvement in his groundwork, his grappling, probably from John Kavanagh. And I think that was the difference between him losing this fight and winning this fight, actually. I think the fact that when he did get taken down, or when he got knocked down and Spann instigated a grapple on the ground, Johnny Walker was actually able to get out of it, which I don't think he would have been able to previously. And then, obviously, it led to the strikes which finish it. But I kind of was interested in your take on what I've just said there about him seeming to go down every time he's caught clean, being a fighter that tries to walk people down, the improvement in his grappling, but also the fact that he makes his fights so chaotic that it's very difficult to control what's going on during the fight. And lastly, did you see the difference in his entrance and his behaviour after the cage? So he didn't dance to the ring, and he didn't do somersaults and all sorts afterwards either. I know I've just asked you like 6 questions, but that's the general stuff.
I think going under John Kavanagh was a great idea, and I think the reason why you didn't see him dancing and getting himself so hyped up is because John wouldn't have wanted him to do what he did do in the striking, which is to go nuts and crazy and put it up to percentages. I don't think it's because he's got a dodgy chin that he's getting rocked. He's 6'6", and generally people that sort of tall, a little less coordinated. When they get rocked, they look more gangly and all over the place. So I don't think it's a chin issue. I just think that he's open and wild. And these guys are big guys; they're not small. And it's going to rock you when you get planted on, and that's what keeps happening. Now, have I seen improvements? Yes, I have seen improvements regards his ground. He was able to deal with that ground situation, because look, if I was in Spann's corner, I'd be saying, look, he's been shown up to have holes in his grappling. He looked terrible. I can't remember who he was up against off the top of my head now, but he got grappled and mauled, didn't he? He just had no answers. And so going on to John Kavanagh, you're definitely going to improve your ground, and you're definitely going to improve your strategy to get back to your feet. So survive the ground to get stood up and live another day. But his behaviour on the feet was not what John Kavanagh would have wanted. I know John Kavanagh would have been screwing, and he certainly would have been giving him a telling off, I'm sure, about that kind of strategy. Okay, he pulled it off, but this is going to be that if he does this the next fight, it could be him getting put down for the finish. And he did get knocked down twice. It so easily could have been Spann's night. It was thrown up into percentage chances. But the finish, he pulled it off. I think it's partly because he can wrestle a little bit better now, and I think he could get up to the feet better than he could before, which is being under John Kavanagh. And you're right, that led to him getting the win. But my goodness, he could have still gone against him, even with those improvements. But I think you're not seeing him dance. I don't think you're seeing him go crazy after. because John Kavanagh's trying to calm him down. He's trying to make him become a martial artist. And you'll see better things from Walker's striking if he stays under John Kavanagh. I just don't think that's what John would have wanted. I don't think that's what's supposed to have happened. But what's happened has happened, and he's pulled off a win again. So we've got to give it to him. He stays in the UFC. He's learning on the job. He's so young. He's learning on the job.
Yeah, 26.
It's difficult, isn't it, to learn as you go.
Yeah. But fighting in the pocket is a strategical thing that you do if you're falling behind and you have to push the gas tank on someone. You say, yeah, okay, get in the pocket. You start going toe-to-toe, especially if you're falling behind somewhat. I get that then, but you don't go toe-to-toe from the beginning. I mean, it's great viewing. But John must have been, for that short duration...
You could hear John Kavanagh shouting, take your time, calm down, pick your shots. And we talked about Conor McGregor picking his shots and finding the right angle, and then, that making that shot count rather than wildly. You never... when was the last time you saw Conor McGregor wildly go toe-to-toe with anyone? I think probably Alvarez maybe once, and that's probably it, really.
He doesn't.
Because he waits and he picks his shot.
He doesn't waste
I gotta say,
anything.
If Johnny Walker keeps improving while still keeping his power, and then becomes a fighter who can pick his shots like a Conor McGregor does under Kavanagh, then he could be really dangerous. But equally, if he keeps going like this and loses a couple of fights, the UFC might be like, well, the hype train's over. However, they do like fighters which make entertaining fights. Like if you look at someone like John Phillips, has picked up a lot of losses in that middleweight division, but they keep him because he's entertaining and he'll fight anyone. So there's a fine line, isn't there? I think with that. Yeah, it's not a position as a fighter that I'd be comfortable being in having 50-50 results just because you're exciting. I mean, that's sort of the tricks that Pride used to do. And well, the other problem, Dan,
Bellator's becoming guilty of. Yeah,
the other problem with it, mate, is like, so he's ranked 11. He's won. He's probably going to go up to at least 10th. Now, what you've got to think is they're going to probably put him in with a top 10 fighter from the middleweight division. But let me tell you something. The UFC middleweight division, if he tries to go toe-to-toe with some of those fighters, he better learn. Not learn, but he better learn. Yeah, he better learn fast. Because he's learned, like Tom said, he's learned on the job. He's 26. Let's just have a quick look at the middleweight rankings of the UFC. Look, UFC is the cream of the crop, so of course...
The way that Johnny Walker fights, I feel like he wastes so much of his God-given power.
And his energy, mate, as well. Do you know what I mean? His gas tanks.
And his body composition. His height, his reach.
Nicely. He can he can tease his way in, and he could, like I said earlier, he could be more judicious with his shots. A little bit of shades of a McGregor. The way McGregor dominates the footwork in the arena, and he gets the opponent moving to where he wants so he can land the shots, because he's so athletically gifted in his body. It's just his mindset when he's fighting, and it's leaving him to take so much damage he doesn't need to be taking.
100%.
But it must be so much harder to train the heavyweight and heavyweight divisions to fight like this. They got smaller coaches and.
Yeah, I apologise. I said middleweight. I think just now he's actually light heavyweight.
Light heavy, yeah.
But the point still stands when he's going to be ranked 10 in that light heavyweight division, and
he needs to improve because he's leaving them. Some of these light heavyweights are going to be.
Yeah, but I do think he is. I do think he is going to be on the improve. Like I say, we saw differences just for the fact that he's gone under John Kavanagh, and I think John Kavanagh will tone down his striking. It may have just been too soon for this fight to put those changes.
He will take more of that power through.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because he'd be so much more dangerous. Because the power be landing clean on the chin because he aimed it there.
Yeah,
and rather than just throwing in bunches, crazy hard bunches to hope one lands. The thing is as well, in his early fights in UFC, he kind of got away with it, so it became a pattern that he fell
fighting. He wasn't fighting top level fighters then.
No, he wasn't. But nevertheless, there'd been a pattern, and he got comfortable with that pattern and started relying on that pattern.
Yeah,
it's like that. We talk about Agapova. Agapova she created a pattern, and she stuck to it so much so that it actually went against her in the end.
Yeah, when it broke, she didn't know what to do.
That's it.
So Johnny Walker's ranked 11th at the moment. So I'm going to read out some of the names from the top 15. You've got at 13th. You've got Magmed Ankelov, who's obviously a great fighter. Then you've got Ryan Spann, Johnny Walker. You've got Misa Shirkinov, which I think would be a really good fight for Johnny Walker. Nikita Krylov. Anthony Smith is the one that I would put him up against next. Volkan Ozdemir. Prochaka. And then you've got Alexander Rakic, Glover Teixeira, Blachowicz, Thiago Santos, and Dominic Reyes. For me, I would be keeping him away from the likes of Krylov, Ozdemir, Rakic. I would be looking at Anthony Smith, possibly Serkinov, and maybe like a Glover Teixeira, maybe.
Yeah, Glover will run him down with his boxing.
I think it's a bit early for that.
And he will do him on the ground as well.
Yeah, I think the fight for him is Anthony Smith, because Anthony Smith's in a bit of a bad patch. It's a good name.
You know what? Smith will have to win it. He will have to win it.
The other option is someone behind him. So you've got Ankelov, Rua, or Paul Craig, which would all be quite good fights for him. But as a young fighter, I'm assuming he's going to want to fight up rather than back. But then maybe, like, I look at the names above him, and Anthony Smith's the only one which I think, that if I'm booking it from a UFC want to make Johnny Walker a star, and I'm booking it from a Johnny Walker wants to progress up the rankings, the majority of those fighters in the top 10, I think, would run through him. So you don't want that from those points of view. So then you're looking at, for me, Anthony Smith would be a good test for him, good fight. It's a big name, but I think he could win. You know, he's capable of winning all of them, of course, but I think Paul Craig would be an interesting fight. Rua would be an interesting fight. I would not put him against Magmed and Kalov. I can tell you that much, because that could be a career ender for him.
Yeah.
Not a career ender, but a UFC career ender at least. Tom, who would you put him against next if you were Dana White?
Paul Craig could be a good fight if you were for
both guys, really.
Yeah, I think Paul Craig. He lost his last fight. Am I right in saying Paul Craig?
I think he did. Yeah.
I'll just double check that.
Or did he win? It wasn't that long ago, was it?
No, that's a good fight.
Paul Craig lost to Antigolov in his last fight by submission.
Yeah, how did that go? Because we covered it. How did that fight go down?
He lost by submission in the first round to Antigolov, but the fight before that he beat him and Rua went to a draw, and the fight before that he beat Moreira via submission.
I think Paul Craig and Johnny Walker would be a really good fight to make. A lot for both of them to gain, and the stage that they're both at in their career. I think that would be a really good fight. Yeah,
and I think like Paul Craig needs a win. He's been very kind of win, lose. So I think he needs to get up a bit ahead of steam. So I think it would suit him. And again, I think it'd be a good
Johnny
fight.
Walker would be a great name for him to do it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and very beatable for him. I'm sure.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay. On both sides.
Yeah, I think so. I still like the Anthony Smith. We talked about fighters who impress and who do well for the fans. Someone who the UFC loves is Kazmat Chimaev. He faced Gerard Mearsheirt. It didn't last long, 17 seconds. What I will say before we talk about this very long fight is Chimaev, if you look at social media, YouTube, all the things, the metrics, which the UFC will have a very close eye on, the only people who do bigger numbers are the likes of Conor McGregor, John Jones, etc. He is a very popular person very popular fighter with not just the people of Sweden and America, but the UK, Europe, and also the casual fans as well, like the mainstream fans. He is a star in the making. He's only fought 3 times in the UFC, all
That's
in
incredible.
this last 3 months. And he came in, he started to fight, he kicked him in the midsection, knocked him out with a right, and walked off. It was like Stone Cold Steve Austin, kicked him in the gut, smashed him in the face, and left.
Like 9 professional fights, right?
That's 9-0. 9-0.
8, but yeah, that made him 9-0, didn't it?
If he's generating so much interest with only 9 professional fights, that's
incredible.
A good position to be in. You know
well, I don't think has he even broken 1 minute in the UFC cage. It's just run for everyone.
John Phillips was decision.
John Phillips was longer than that, wasn't it?
Fight, yeah.
It didn't last like a massive.
No, it didn't last that long. He still got grappled up.
Yeah.
But take us through the fight, Dan. Like, I know it wasn't very long. It was, it was over and done with in 17 seconds. But
yeah, Moshe, he was footworking towards Chimev's power hand. I mean, it's a big no.
He was backing off straight away, wasn't
he? Yeah, initially when you're circling towards the power hand, you need to be pouring something out to that side to fix the potential striking hand, the power side coming at you. You have to be threatening on something, but he didn't. He just waited, and if you wait, you're going to get delivered upon. And Chimev delivered it. Yeah, he's walking towards his right side. I mean, it's just loaded up. Could have survived longer than that, but if he did go the right side, the correct way, I still don't think it would have been very long from what we're seeing. I mean, he's just running through everybody so quickly. Exciting prospect. I just want to see how he performs when someone can actually meet him force on force a little bit.
So, he's not even in the top 15 yet, is he? Which is frightening in itself.
Yeah.
Some of the top 15s in the middleweight division. Brad Tavares, Edmund Shabosian, Uriah Hall, Chris Weidman, Dak Brunson, Darren Till, Romero, Hermanson, Costa, Robert Whittaker, Akhmedov, Vittori. Any of those where you think that's who I'd put him against?
Oh, crikey.
For me, Uriah Hall, I would love to see that fight.
Hall or Till, I think, because that'd be an interesting one. But then again, that could be dangerous for Till.
Here's a fight for you. Darren Till.
It's too soon to make him to have him until fighting right now as well. Do you think? He's only just coming to UFC.
I know, but
you could build up to that fight. You really could, though, couldn't you?
Of course you could. But doing the I'm looking at it as what I think Dana White's going to look at, because he's so excited by him, the things he's saying.
Yeah.
I just think he's going to throw him a name next, and if he does the same thing, he's going to throw him another name.
Hall, like you said, would be a good one.
Yeah, Hall would be a good one.
That's name. And he's
Uriah Hall, I think, is a big enough name, but not like you're not giving him like Darren Till or Romero or someone like Costa or someone.
You at least expect him to get out the first round.
Yeah. The one thing I wouldn't give him Edmund Shabosian, because I don't think that does Shabosian any favours whatsoever. Like, because Shabosian's got he's building up a nice little reputation for himself. You don't want to throw him to the wolves just yet. It's mad, isn't it? Like how quickly he's come in, and Chris Weidman, maybe Uriah Hall, those two experienced fighters. Do you put him against him?
That could be good.
Weidman, could be I think, could be a good one.
Weidman's just getting himself sorted again, isn't he? He won his last one out. It was tough. He pushed through.
Next up, we had the lightweight. Donald Cerrone fought Nico Price to a majority draw. I will pass this over to you two now, but just quickly I will say, I think what this fight showed is that how good Conor McGregor can still be on his day, because he actually starched Donald Cerrone, and people said, Donald Cerrone's past it, it wasn't a proper fight for Conor McGregor, blah, 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 blah. Look, Donald Cerrone, Nico Price tried to do what Conor McGregor did and wasn't able to. Donald Cerrone was very impressive, showed he could still do it. over
He's
to
a
you
big
guys.
guy, that Nico Price as well.
He is a big guy.
I've seen him get knockouts from underneath as well. So the thing with Cerrone, the reason why he got starched by McGregor, it depends on where you catch the fighter, what stage they're at in their life. Do you see what I'm saying? I feel like on another day, Cerrone could be hard for McGregor. So like timing is everything in this game as well. Because it depends on when you catch someone where they're at in their life. So something that went against Cerrone often in his career is that he's just too calm in the chaos, just too calm. And you need that fine balance. But he seemed to have it in this fight, because I see Nico Price was in more of an elevated state than Cerrone, where Cerrone was like emotionally centered, always in the middle when he fights, which is one of his biggest attributes. Vice versa has always worked against him many times.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
But that is the interesting thing about Cerrone. It is the mindset. It really is. It's hard for me to explain into words the way I see things sometimes. But
no, you've explained it really well.
Yeah,
and I agree with what you said.
Yeah. So,
what about you, Dan? What do you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning, I was thinking, oh no, this is looking horrible for Cerrone. But we have seen this time and time again, even when Cerrone was a younger man. We've seen him start slow. But once he gets his rhythm, starts to look good, then starts to look better, then starts to look fantastic. It even happened in that first round.
So long.
Oh yeah, and do you know what impresses me is his durability, not just to take punishment, but his cardio. This guy must train and eat clean all the time because he's still really in amazing shape. It was Nico Price that was the one looking gassed and washed out.
Yeah.
Never did I see Cerrone look like he was, drawing for breath and looking like he needs to back off.
Cerrone stayed centered throughout the whole entire
Absolutely,
fight.
he did.
Centered state. It's like where's your mind and spirit at when you're fighting?
Yeah,
and he's
Cerrone,
in the middle.
He wasn't perfect in it, but his experience really showed through.
Yeah.
I don't think it was dishonourable to have a draw at all. I was really struggling to think who should have won it, especially with the eye poke, incident. But Cerrone in that second half of that first round started to really come back at Nico Price, and I don't know. It was a great display of warrior, which we've just seen time and time again. He's still doing it. While he's relatively long in the tooth now, doing the sport. But cardio is amazing. His chin held up, absolutely amazing. And he's showing he's still relevant.
Yeah.
What can you say?
I want to know
he's still
where
relevant.
his motivation comes from.
I think he just has a love with the fight game. He has a love for it. This guy ain't nervous. He's there enjoying every essence of it.
All the other stuff that motivates these athletes, they're looking at the validation, they want the glory, they want the fame, like
attention.
I don't think any of these external things do not. He's past it.
No, he's in it to just be in it.
Yeah, exactly. This is it's almost a bit of a curse as well sometimes. Like you got to look at what motivates people to fight. This is it, and that's. Yeah,
some fighters fight because they can't let. Some fighters just can't let go. But I feel like with Cerrone, it's not even that. I just think he's enjoying doing what he's doing, and until someone tells him, "Hey, enough's enough," I can't see him making the decision himself. I'm going to hang up my gloves. I think it's going to be after Dana. Yeah, it's just going to be Dana White's going to have to say, "Hey, man, look, you've done amazing." I think
funny enough, Dana White has come out since yesterday's fight and said he wants to sit down and talk to Cerrone about potentially retiring, which
he's trying to protect him.
Yeah, because it's horrible to see people try and make a name off someone like Cerrone as well. Do you know what I'm saying? Like after all they've done in the sport, what they've been through, their journey, their psychological processes they've gone through, and then you get these young kids come up that they don't deserve to have their names on the record, but that's what tends to happen. So he needs a nice get out, or hopefully it leads him to a higher goal. That's what.
Yeah, where'd you go?
He probably already does. He must, he has maybe an entrepreneurial mindset as well. Maybe he's got that ranch, or.
It's difficult though when you're fighting when you got someone who's fighting for the love of it. How do you tell him, enough's enough?
Yeah.
because he is, he's made his money. It's just a case of he loves this shit. So
he does.
Because a fight like Nico Price for someone like Donald Cerrone, I would find it hard in Donald's position to see the motivational reason to have that fight, because it serves Nico Price going forward better. But like obviously Cerrone just doesn't give a rat's about all these other kind of things that he don't care. He just fights, and that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
cool.
but
he's not the superficial things. They don't motivate him to fight. It's internal.
Yeah, but he's in it. But what's important to add, he's clearly in it to win it, and not just purely in it for the experience of just fighting. Because he was shooting in, doing takedowns at the time that it was good to do it. He was trying to mix it up to steal the round. So it goes to show he knows where he's at in every round. He gets a sense of whether he's falling behind or not. And I really wouldn't have been surprised if he got the nod for the win because of the way he performed in that third round. Okay, he never got big scores with the takedowns, but he never listened. He scored some takedowns and he got a clean back take as well. Again, couldn't make anything of it because Nico Price was slick in his defence. But
also at certain stages in people's career, like how pliable is his actual fighting? Because you always know what he kind of looks like when he fights, and he does always, to me, seem pretty much very similar. Like obviously, he has an infatuated knockout 1 year, or back of him, where his style is kind of consistently always the same. Whereas I still feel like it'd be so interesting to see. Well, obviously, when you've been fighting that long, these patterns, they're embedded into his nervous system and everything. So he'll probably always look the same. But I think if there's some way he could actually make his style look completely different, but I doubt it now he's been fighting.
Yeah, but I think he was trying though. I mean, we saw that spinning back kick to the liver, and if you look at that in slow-mo, that was on target. And he was doing quite a few old body kicks in this one. And like I say, we see him shooting in a lot more. So he definitely was stepping it up. And one thing I think I have seen, especially since he fought Nate Diaz, I mean, Nate Diaz boxed him up, really boxed him up. And one thing I have noticed is that Cerrone, when he's reminded to, starts putting in some lovely bobs and weaves into beautiful counters. So he's definitely advancing his game and still finding ways to improve. And like I say, he's definitely in it to still win it, other than the fact that we know he loves to fight. He's definitely trying to win it because he's choosing to shoot when he feels that he might be slipping behind in the round of the fight. He's trying to mix it up, so to speak. And it just impresses me. Sort of, you don't want to see the back of him, but you kind of do, just for his own safety, and because he's received so much punishment over the years, and you just don't want to see such a legendary guy just take it too far. And in a few years' time, hear him in interviews, talking like he's got, it's what, 37, something like that, I think. But my God, he's had he does, but he's got mileage on that 37 years. It's not just the fact that he's 37; he's got mileage on it.
That's why he needs a higher goal, because if he comes away from the fighting, he will decline physically and mentally. Because the goal keeps you growing as a person, and then if he retires from that game straight away, that's when. Yeah,
but come on, Tom. Realistically,
retire, but after an extensive career like that, he needs another goal. For his own well-being. Like,
sure, I understand what you mean. Oh, right, you mean outside? Yeah,
absolutely.
You never see him
outside, because you can't just stop fighting. If you've been fighting your whole entire life, you cannot stop, because you're gonna go. It's very difficult. I'm sure of that.
You never see him doing like pundit, like media and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like like you see like DC and Bisping and people. You never see Cerrone do any of that stuff.
He doesn't. He's never needed
quite
to.
Interesting, isn't it? But
it's not his personality. Not his personality.
No. I wonder if he's got any interest in doing that, like after his days are over, or.
I don't think he would.
Cowboy. He's a cowboy, isn't it?
Yeah. He just goes back to the ranch and. Yeah.
Smokes it up.
Legend.
Right. He's got his own training place there, hasn't he? So he'll be producing fighters of his own right.
Yeah.
Indeed. Let's finish off then. The main event of the evening was Colby Covington beating Tyrone Woodley via a TKO, but it was an injury to Tyrone Woodley. I just want to say quickly about Tyrone Woodley. I said a couple of weeks back that for the last few fights, I've really felt like there was something missing from Tyrone Woodley, as if, I don't know whether it's like he's kind of made his name and his money and he can't find the motivation. I don't know what it is, but there's something missing, and I am legitimately worried that at some point he's going to get seriously hurt, because I don't think his heart's in it, and I don't think that boxing or MMA is the place to be and fight regularly at the top level if your heart's not in it. And I really believe that Tyrone Woodley's heart is not in it anymore. He does not look the same fighter that he was when he was champion. Ever since he lost that belt, ever since those 2 Wonder Boy fights, which got universally slammed as boring as so-and-so, which they were, I don't think he's been the same. I can't remember the last time I saw him be really aggressive and go after a fighter. He seems, back foot in that fight, he just seems more worried about what his opponents are going to do to him, and I worry for him genuinely, because I think he's a good guy. Like, I just think his heart's not in it for whatever reason, whatever the reason is.
Anymore, do you?
No, I don't know what it is. But tell us about the fight, Dan.
He started off looking like he was going to come forward, and he did for a moment. But Covington did the right thing. He was mixing up the wrestling and the striking. Covington showed such good kickboxing skills, really did. But the shoot he shot in on the rear leg when Woodley looked for the crosshand, and it's actually something we've been working on in training. That when is it safe to shoot in on that rear leg? There's only a few times that it is safe to do so, and one of them is when someone loads up with their rear hand, their cross hand. And Woodley, as we know, he loads up on that cross hand. You can kind of see it coming. He sends you a postcard saying, "Here comes my right hook, right cross." And Covington shot him beautifully and put him on his back. And straight away, to come back up off the ground takes energy, gets your heart rate up. And I don't think it suits Woodley to face grind. He's not a labourer. He doesn't like to be work intensive, doesn't like that, and he then settles for the fence, and this is what we saw him settle for the fence so often, and Covington's just going to work you to death. But Covington, you've got to admit though, he was impressive. He didn't overwork himself. He just was at that right pace all the time, making good decisions, and he was landing that right hook repeatedly.
But Dan, you know what, that takedown in the first round, that completely nullified Woodley's ability or belief in his striking straight away. Because of that takedown, he stopped looking to go forward, and he stopped looking to make any sort of offensive strikes generally. And I thought strategically it was such a clever thing to do from Colby Covington, where Woodley hit a couple of strikes, and Colby Covington straight away early in the first round has taken him down, and it's completely changed Woodley's mindset.
Think about the skill of the strategy that was put in play here. Woodley, if he was going to win because he was going to land that cross punch at some point, and he was going to lay and pray for it. And you remember we said last week the only way he's going to win is by landing that, because Covington's going to stay in and try to work the cardio too hard and open himself up to it. He didn't do that, but what he did do is he shot in on the rear side when he threw that crosshand, so the takedown was going to be an issue for him throwing that crosshand, and he was also throwing the body shot to that right side of Woodley, and also the head kick to the right side of Woodley, occupying that arm, making it have to stay there. Whenever he launched it, there was a threat of the takedown, and if he thought about releasing it, he knew that he could be facing the head kick or a body kick. A brilliant strategy, it really was. It nullified Woodley's only way to win.
Absolutely. What impressed you most about Covington, Tom?
I like his pressure fighting. It's something I kind of emulate for myself, actually. I can see when he's pressing forward, he presses forward with a nice, tight, clinical form. People don't talk enough about how good his striking is. He throws good, judicious roundhouse kicks, just enough, always to the body, they always land. I need to go back and see if he's doing it to their blind side or not, when the body's open,
He's doing it to the open side quite often.
Yeah,
the open side.
Is it a switch roundhouse he's often doing, Danny?
No, he's fighting southpaw. He's fighting. So those opposite stance. So he's kicking to the. We call it open gate when the hips are.
Yeah.
when opposite forms, so you throw the body kick there.
It makes sense to throw that. His style is really economical. So
he threw his shots at about 80%, so he could throw a lot of them, which are all potentially dangerous.
He's got good bottle and nerve because he's pretty tough. He's very tough. He gets into that pocket where he's vulnerable and he holds his composure. And then when I see his opponents. I haven't watched that many fights of his, but from what I have seen, when he's in the correct range, they seem to be slightly hesitant and wary, and then he gets into his good flow into the fight and then presses him forward. It's a good system. It works. It's very simple, judicious striking going forward, economical, great form. The form is what makes it so effective as well. Pressing them forward on the back foot, backed up with solid fundamentals in the wrestling and good fence work. And the rhythm, he fights on a good rhythm. So
he displaced any kind of attempt at rhythm from Woodley, because he would shoot in all of a sudden. He was just mixing it up so well and with such good timing. And I felt really sorry for Woodley when he was on his back. He got cut from an elbow strike, didn't he? I think that was in the third round, was it? And it was really troubling him.
It'd be interesting to see how bad that rib injury was. Because the press is going to want to know what happened. Of
course. I think that was just a movement injury. Yeah, I just think it was during the takedown that probably was the start of it. When you're trying to resist a takedown and you're twisted.
The mind state he's in as well. Because he was losing the fight so badly, because when you got enough motivation to win, you can go through a lot of damage and not even know it's there. You can break...
separated ribs. I separated ribs, and once they go on you, you can't move. It's horrible. Yeah, it's a horrible feeling. I think that's what's happened.
Because couldn't see it. I couldn't see an impact or anything that caused it.
No, if it's an impact, you can say, okay, it's a broken rib, but you can fracture ribs just through explosive movements when you're both fighting against each other, so twist and turn. But I think it was probably a rib separation. I think the cartilage either popped in or out on the rib.
Or
that's highly like
in between the ribs or something.
And that agonising. It's just not nice.
He was in a lot of pain when he screamed
he was.
out.
He was.
And these fighters, they don't like to show...
They're weak with pain and stuff, but he was troubled.
To react like that, it was something was not good. So, we wish him well, and I hope... And, I want people to understand as well, when I say about his heart's not in it, and etc., I say that because I respect him as a man and a fighter. I give my honest opinion, and also... the last thing I'd want to see is him tarnish what's been an exceptional career by carrying on just because he feels he should. And then...
Just at this stage in his life, though, potentially, because he still looks very physically well and healthy. Good time away from the game, and then to come back only when it suits him. He could... I guess he can still fight. It's just whether he wants it or not. That vehicle of his body, that's a fine vehicle for fighting. Look how supremely conditioned he is. I haven't heard of him, apart from his rib injury, I haven't heard of him have any...
but it's the mindset. It's the absolute mindset. You're right. Physically, he is incredible. But that's
he can do it. Physically, his body is good enough to be well...
but he ain't there. To me, his body's like a Ferrari, and then it's like sticking a granny in to drive it. A granny's going to drive out, and he just doesn't have the desire. I think he's done with the sport. I really do.
That's what we're guessing. But when I say it's the stage in his life, you just don't know with these fighters. We're not. Do you see what I'm saying? Because 5 years could pass and he's still fit and healthy, and it's a burning desire from inside you. You can't ignore it. You never know, and it will force you to fight. Isn't it, Danny?
Yeah, I know what you mean. But
it's his psychology. It's absolutely his psychology.
I mean, we're always having to guess because we don't know what goes in on their lives. So we can only go by what we see in the cage and try and put a guess to what we're seeing. But
just giving an opinion, mate. At the end
it feels, that's right. And I get the sense that he's fighting because he's expected to fight.
Yeah,
and he's achieved so much now as well.
Yeah, and I think he feels like he has to still act the man and step up, but it ain't there for him. I would not be disappointed to see him hang his hands. I'd be disappointed, obviously, to see such a great fighter come out, but he's been truly derailed. He had his moment to shine. Some shine for a long time, some are just a fleeting one. For him, it was quite fleeting, but he still did it. He can still say he did it, and I think he should just call it a day and leave it for these young wads that are all coming up. There'd be no disgrace in him ending it as he has. He's had a great career.
Nice.
Yes.
UFC world champion.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and he was one of the better UFC champions in recent memory. You know, at the end of the day, it was only really when he lost the title that things started to.
Yeah, it went bad quickly for him.
Yeah. Right, just to finish off, then we're going to do our predictions for the UFC main card next week. We're not going to go into a load of detail because we've done a long one already, but I want to do them just because it's a big event. It's UFC. What is it? 253.
253. Yeah.
Okay, so main event. It's going to be a nasty one.
So
they
exciting.
do not like each other. Okay. Who have you got for the main event? Adesanya versus Ricky Martin, as he calls him.
Yeah.
Mr.
I'm going to
Costa.
go Paul Acosta. I think he's got the style. Yeah, I think he's got the style to fluster Israel. He has to have space and room. He has to be at range. He has not been properly pressed, and I think Paul Acosta can press him.
So
I think he's there. He wants it.
Oh man, he wants to take him so badly.
Bad. Yeah. If you had asked me this before Adesanya's last fight, I would have said Adesanya all day long. But Adesanya, I thought in his last fight struggled a little bit, and then I think of that, and then I think of Paulo Costa coming at him, and I think, oh, okay, that could be problematic for him. Really, quite problematic. So yeah, it's an interesting one, but we'll see how it goes.
Had such a meteoric rise, so now
he's
got the belt. What keeps him? Because when you're on the chase, I bet you it's got to be a lot easier than having the title, because that goal's in front of you, and now he's from a defensive standpoint. Is psychologically,
for sure.
Good for him.
Dominic Reyes versus Jan Blachowicz for the interim light heavyweight belt. Who have you got, Danny?
Right, I'm going to probably surprise a lot of people here, although I normally end up being wrong with the guessing game. But I've been so impressed with Jan. His striking is really good. He presses up against the cage. He doesn't necessarily have to have the takedown. He works really, really well there. And I just think he's got striking enough and the size to push Dominic Reyes to the fence and just keep mauling him. I just think he's going to steal I think he's going to tire on him. I think he's naturally the bigger man in terms of body weight, and I think he'll impose that on Dominic. I don't think Dominic's fought someone with Jan's style. Jan's really impressed me.
Okay. Tom?
I'm going to say Jan. I haven't been studying this weight class. So, but I believe
Dominic has been really impressive, but I just think stylistically, Jan's going to cause problems for him.
Yeah,
I can't give you an educated answer, but I'd say Jan.
Yeah, I was leaning towards that Jan, and then I think Reyes has been very impressive since returning. It's difficult, isn't it? I wouldn't be surprised to see either win, but I'm gonna go with Jan Blachowicz as well. I think I'm gonna go with Dominic Reyes. I've changed my mind. Dominic Reyes. He's looked impressive. I'm gonna stick with him.
Yeah, he has.
And then the other one I wanted to ask you about was Hakeem Dawodu versus Zubaya Tukhugov. Probably not how you pronounce it, but I believe that Zubaya is the next from the next in line from Khabib's team. Highly thought of, I think. I'm not 100% sure. I get confused by this. I can't say their names. I'm
going to go Hakeem Dawodu. I think he's gonna pull it off.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with Zabaya. He's got, even though Hakeem's got the leg reach and the reach advantage and the height advantage and slight weight advantage, I'm going to go with Zabaya. And you, Tom?
Is Zabaya Habib's teammate?
I believe so, yeah.
I'm going to go with them. I'm just going to say they're the Midas touch at the moment, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like the morale will be high with them. And I feel like with Habib going for a lot, I don't know, they're just the warrior spirit. They want to keep fighting, keep their momentum going. I think the morale will be strong. And that's I don't even know who this guy is. So that's all I can say on that one. But I think the team morale will be there.
Yeah. And lastly, the women's bout is Caitlin Vieira versus Sajira Banks in the bantamweight division. Danny?
Yeah, Caitlin Vieira.
Ooh.
I don't know who they are, so I'm going to say Caitlin. I've got to trust in my coach, Danny.
Yeah, trust in the coach.
About that.
Trust me, because I know all the women.
Because I know Danny's record of predictions, I'm going to go with Sajira
I haven't been
Banks.
I think I was all right just recently.
I think you did
Not
better this week. Better this week than you have done recently, but I think I still won, just to say. But I'll let you know when you lose, when I lose, should I say. Right, cool, wicked. I'm going to cut loads of this into clips. It has been a long one, the longest one we've done in a while. But I'll cut the Cage Warriors preview into a little video so we can put that out this week. I'll cut the UFC predictions as well. And I'll cut Tom talking about his fight as well. Give some people some little glimpses of what they're missing if they're not watching and listening.
As well, Simon.
Yes, indeed.
I'm sure we will, yeah.
I'll drop you a message tomorrow and we'll sort it out. And we'll have an exclusive with Cage Warriors lightweight Tom Mearns. But Tom, it's been a pleasure, mate. I appreciate it massively for you coming on. We've had a fantastic...
I'll be back on to discuss the win with you.
Yeah, there you go. That's it, mate. 100%.
There's a promise.
I'll be back in the gym with you, Danny, working after this fight.
I have no doubt, man. I've seen nothing but work for this camp, so I've been utterly impressed with you.
So, like, it's a big challenge ahead to Kieran Lister, but absolutely, I know I can beat him. You know what I mean? I will beat him. So then I can't wait to beat him and then to keep progressing forward, keep learning, keep improving. Yeah,
really I'll tell you what, Tom. As I promised you, I'll give you an oil check, win or lose.
You can do that to Richard. Oh, God. Yeah, come on. Seriously, let's get it. This Saturday.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Can't wait. It's going to be great.
Absolutely. How can he beat me? He ain't been through what I've been through. You know what I mean? He don't know what I know. It's a hard fight. I respect him. But no, I will be taking him out Saturday. Absolutely. I'll be vicious Saturday night.
Yeah. I mean, what other guys had a bisexual coach that they've had to fight off all their time?
Yeah. You're tough me up here, Danny. You're messing me up here. But I'm telling you, you messed me up, but you're toughing me up as well. Mate, you made me the fighter I am, so I will be representing you on Saturday night. Yeah, no, seriously, but we will get that win, and I can't wait to be working and improving after this fight. Come on.
Yes, Tom.
Yes. Come on. Right, and on that note, Danny, as always, a pleasure, mate. Tom, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week. We've had a fantastic run of guests this last 5 weeks, and hopefully we'll keep it going next week as well. Take it easy, my friends, and thank you for watching, listening.
Cheers, Tom.
Nice fun.
Champion, welcome.